Right now, we are joined by Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones Show brought to you by Ford. Ford is the best in Texas. Good morning, Jerry.
Hey, Kevin, you and Corey, good to be on with you, and I hope you know your plays. It's always a little risky to have some new teammates in here.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out pretpretty quick, I suppose.
Hopefully it won't be a damn debate, Jerry. Hopefully not.
Hey,
Did you?
You're going to be fine.
All right.
Great.
Did you take care of that sweet tooth last night?
Excuse me?
With Halloween. It was Halloween, Jerry. Did you get any good Halloween candy?
Hey, I got everything I wanted for Halloween. I've been a good boy, but that doesn't count on Halloween, does it?
Nope, no, it doesn't.
I took a little trick or two and took a little, gave out some candy. I did it all, yes.
Now, I'm curious I don't know how much you can or cannot say about this. Can you walk us through any potential discussions or trades that may have fallen through leading into the trade deadline? Because I know y'all were really busy with Bennett, and then we all heard all the news and rumor and innuendo about Adams, but you're the source, so I wanted to go right to the source. What can you tell us about what almost happened or didn't?
Yeah, Adams became certainly what is known is known. Ironically, right now, discussion of Adams could easily get you in a tampering situation. And so you're really not going to be able to talk about him or the aspects of the trade or the potential trade. And if you think about it, it makes sense. You've got tampering in the NFL, and you can't talk about another club's player, and he certainly is the Jets' player. So we won't spend a lot of time with him, but I'll say this, the coverage of it has been pretty accurate in terms of what kind of interest that we showed and had in him. And we obviously were trying to utilize our consideration, which in this case were draft picks. We were trying to use it to help the Cowboys better than we could have used the same picks in the draft. But good luck to him as a person and as a player. He's a local guy from Texas, and we're all proud of what he's doing in the NFL. But apart from that, we did look at other positions, but for the most part, that safety position was the one that got the most attention, and it was buying through Adams.
What other? You mind letting us know what other positions y'all were kind of checking out?
Well, we looked at defensive line, and of course, it culminated in getting Bennett, and but the losing Tyron Crawford really was unfortunate for him and for us. We hope his recovery is as good as we think it can be, but still. That and plus the opportunity to really have a player available such as Bennett was just a propitious thing for us. And so as witnessed by the fact, how many times do you don't have a player one week and you've got him lining up against the division opponent the next week, the New York Giants. So Bennett's going to help us out, and he's a great addition on and off the field.
What kind of personality is he whenever you talk to him?
Oh, I think he's a positive. He's got what I would call a competitive football personality, and it shows. A lot of guys can have personality, but it doesn't show up out on the football field. But he's got it in every way you want to have it. In a positive way. So I would say he's very interesting, very, I think, adds to, football is certainly a physical game, and it's important to have where you can get it if you've got a player that has some unique personality to go with that. It helps you get through those dog days, the dog day part of practice, near the end when the going gets tough. It's good to have some interest in there, and he certainly qualifies for that.
Jerry, Kevin and I have often speculated on your approach to closing a deal, whether it's a free agent, whether it's a trade. But we've always wanted to ask you: do you have a certain mindset or philosophy on getting somebody to make an agreement with you when you go into that room?
I do not. I take it's a given that they know where they are. I don't ever underestimate anybody. As a matter of fact, I probably overestimate whoever I'm trading with on any matter. And but I sure, if I'm getting something from them, I assume they know more about it than I do. And I also make an assumption that if you are acquiring something in order to gain, because the person giving it to you knew more about it as it was being used, you've got to change the use of it. Certainly as it pertains to, in the case of players, but and I don't even want to allude to them as in the same way you would a piece of property or an asset of that nature. But that's got to change. The use of it has to have a higher use or a higher payoff for you, or otherwise the guy that sold it to you has probably gotten the most out of it, and you're just probably doomed to a push or doomed to having gotten less. So you got to have a different use, and it's got to have been well thought out. And so when I look back on anything I've ever been involved in that I acquired, I changed the use of it after I got it and tried to make it more viable.
Now that the trade deadline has passed, are there any particular avenues that are available that can help the team improve? And then I'm kind of curious, because the Cowboys get linked with everyone, will you guys take a look at Josh Gordon?
We're continually looking for out in the free agent, the guys that are, quote, on the street, if you will, which is almost a misnomer within itself. But there are players that fit at the right circumstances fit. There's also the practice squads. All practice squad players are eligible to be poached, so to speak, and brought over to your club from another club. And that's certainly a great place to look at what you would call the bottom end, the last numbers on your roster. And so that's an area that I've seen from here on in really contribute to a team.
Is there a philosophy on how you balance football character and off-field character now? I mean, you've seen so many different types of players come through the Cowboys organization, good guys, bad guys, whatever, but do you coincide, or are they two separate things when it comes to football character and off-field character and determining the fit for the Cowboys locker room?
You know, that character is critical in anything. But the definition of football character is not the same one as a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah.
And so you've got to have someone that is pretty good at the mind above matter, in my mind, to be a football player. And you've got to rise above it. You've got to play through it if it's pain, not injury, but pain. But more importantly, I think an aggressive attitude, a type A type player. Passiveness doesn't fit our game. And so I think an aggressive, go be active in your own development. But I think that type of character, and I do put that in a character category.
Jerry, do you guys during the bye week? I was wondering if you guys made any headway with any of the contract negotiations that have kind of been sitting out there, whether it be Dak or Amari or any of the other guys.
I always think that there is a movement one way or the other, even though there's not a technical movement. And I like to think that when I look at our entire contract issue regarding players, I think we moved the needle in a positive direction, which is getting things done. I think we moved that needle this week. Yes, we're continually doing that. We do it year-round. This isn't necessarily weeks that we are our busiest weeks regarding player contract, but they certainly are times that you can get things done. Of course, it goes without saying when you bring a new player on like Bennett, you've done some contract work.
And we've heard you say in the past, and like people have speculated what people are doing on the field is like going to affect the contract negotiations. And you guys have said like it's not a week by week process like that. Is it the agents dropping their price, y'all raising your price? Like, how do you make that progress in negotiations week by week, like you were describing then?
Well, I think that the idea of the picture that came to my mind when I was asked, does a player's performance in a game impact his contract? That implies to me a missed tackle, a missed block, a drop pass, interception thrown, those types of things. And that's incidental. That's trite compared to the overall picture. It has to do with an too often used phrase called the overall look, the overall body of work. Well, that can have to do with such things as, is he showing progress? Is he better than this time last month? Those kinds of things. Now, that is probably a more current way of reading as something that might influence a contract. But I think that you do expect, frankly, I don't know of any place on a roster with any player that, unless it's in the nature of an injury that can be a step back, that you don't expect to see as the season goes along an improved player. I think you just at this time of the year should be better than you were in training camp, absent now physical or limitation like that. So you need to see progress. But I'm proud to say that anybody we've been talking about that we've been considering for a contract, without getting into names, they look better now than when they left training camp.
Any truth to the rumor that perhaps Dak did drop his price a little bit this week?
I don't get into any detail, as you guys probably well know, of anything to do with technical aspects of a contract, and that is technical.
Jerry, when you kind of look around, you guys are about to go play, a new quarterback with the Giants, and I know you're chomping at the bit to get back, get your team back out on the field. But you look around the NFC East, there are a lot of young quarterbacks in this division. Do you feel like the Cowboys are kind of at the forefront of being where they are with their quarterback right now?
Well, I've always thought that one of the frailties of the NFL, and one of the things we had to get past, was there just weren't enough people to play the most important or the most impactful position, and that's quarterback. I don't think that anymore. I'm saying, and that's not to diminish the individual aspects of any quarterback, much less in our division. But there are more quarterbacks that can play this game than at any time since I've been in the NFL. More numbers that can play it. There's more on the way that can play it. The nature of the game has evolved such that players can play it earlier. That in any way does not take away from the individual's unique talent or his individual ability to succeed in the NFL. But it is a good thing for our game to have the numbers of young players that are showing up this season.
The news came out yesterday that perhaps Antoine Woods and Tristan Hill were sent home for disciplinary reasons. I'm curious, in your experience, how do players react to those situations? I know discipline is tossed out there by the coaches, but how do the players usually react? Do they have like their own kind of disciplinary or discussion system where they'll get with players and be like, you have to get your head on straight?
No, I don't. I wouldn't go with you there in putting how players act as opposed to a normal meeting. I've seen by people that are 3 generations into their careers, I've seen them asked to leave the room when their phone goes off.
Wow.
And so we all understand discipline, and more importantly, we understand courtesy. And to that end, that's a teaching thing. And so there could be any number of reasons for not practicing. What is noteworthy there is that, a lot of people call a practice day a day at work. Well, if somebody get to sit home and get a day off because they didn't have the proper conduct in a meeting, that's not exactly punishment. But it does show you that missing a practice is punishment, because those players know, they really do know that what they're going to work on out there at practice, these 3 or 4 not padded, but 3 or 4 type practices we have each week, that's all the difference in the world as to how they're going to play. Coaches know that. The players know that. If you miss your practices, you won't play as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, even Dak said that recently about, if we're not practicing hard, we're not going to be performing hard out on the field. And that's one of the leadership qualities you love about your quarterback, isn't it?
Well, what goes in is what comes out. And so if you go out and put everything, your attention to detail, effort, every technique, everything you do, if you'll put that in at practice, that's what comes out Sunday. If you're lollygagging around, that'll come out Sunday too.
Well, we're all really looking forward to Monday, and as lifelong Metroplex residents, we want nothing more than to see y'all whip the Giants.
Well, I agree with you, and one of the great things about being in the NFC East is getting to play these teams in these great cities, Philadelphia, Washington, New York. It really is. It just makes me pinch myself every time I go up and getting ready to play Giants or Redskins or certainly the Eagles, and this is no short Tex Ram that initially got us in the East and created these great rivalries. Was really I'm endeared for the time that I'm getting to enjoy playing and competing with those teams in our division.
You're a big fan of the Big Apple too. Is there like a dive bar you like to go to, or you like they got a great steak? What is it that you love so much about that city?
Well, I'm a great fan of New York, and had at a very young age had offices in New York in my exploration in our oil and gas business, and absolutely part of my job was to entertain when I was in my mid-30s, and I could do it better in New York than I could do it over in Little Rock. There was more to do.
Okay, all right, that makes a lot of sense. Well, Jerry,
no, I'm teasing. I'm laughing when I say that. That's trite to say that. There's more to do on a half a block. That's not taking anything away from Little Rock. It's just that much going on in New York.
Absolutely. Well, Jerry, I mean, did we do all right? Did we get the Jerry Jones stamp of approval today?
You guys are good. You went right down that list of questions that I gave you. So I appreciate that very
Don't
much.
add to that narrative. You know people think that.
We'll list that Homer sheet that I got. And I'm glad you didn't get that other sheet out.
I appreciate it, Jerry.
Hey guys, looking forward to being with you.
Yes,
absolutely.
sir. Have a good one.
See you. Bye.